So this video focuses on inflationary gap, and without wasting any more time, we're just going to start off with the long run option, specifically the natural option of fixing an inflationary gap, which is by doing nothing. And when this happens, our factor prices fall. That leads our AS to move left, move left. That means AS1 goes to AS2. And reflected in our graph pretty much looks like this, but the line would be straight in my case, and we can see that the price has risen, and we know that money demand would also rise and interest rate will also rise, and we know that the output has fallen back to equilibrium. The new thing that we will talk about is change in debt, which is change in BD, which is government spending minus tax rate times total income plus the interest rate on debt and public debt. So what has happened? Well, the interest has risen, the output has fallen, and that pretty much means that our total income has fallen, but we have to pay more interest on our debt. That means there's an upward pressure on debt, and when there's an upward pressure on debt, then our BD goes up, our change in debt goes up, and there's an upward pressure on debt. And that's that. Next, another way of fixing the inflationary gap is by using the contractionary fiscal policy, which we decrease the government spending or we increase our taxes, and that'll lead AD to move left from 81 to 82. And so let's reflect this in our graph. Kind of looks like that. It goes from 81 to 82, so you can see right away that the price has fallen. And when the price falls, we expect money demand and interest to do the same. This is all review. And then we expect Y, our total output, to fall from Y to Y star back to equilibrium. And the new thing that we're going to talk about is, of course, budget deficit. What happens when government spending decreases? What happens to the budget deficit? So budget deficit, let's just write down our formula. G minus T Y plus I D. Okay, so we know that I has fallen, Y has fallen, and G has fallen. But this makes our budget deficit uncertain. It is much for the same reasons as when we went through the budget deficit for increasing spending in the recessionary gap, and it's much for the same reason as, let's find our notes, as this. Without numbers, we cannot know the direction that the budget deficit takes. So we need the numbers to get an accurate understanding of the direction that the budget deficit will take. And the interest of the debt and the debt itself, tacking that onto our budget deficit formula doesn't really tacking onto our public our primary budget deficit formula doesn't really make any difference. Uh, yeah, so we just pretty much really need the numbers to understand what direction that the budget deficit takes. So that's why it's uncertain. And for taxes, it's the same idea that taxes go up, but for our budget deficit, which is G minus Ty plus ID, and I falls, Y falls, but tax rises. What happens to our budget deficit? We are uncertain because we really need the numbers to make an accurate statement of whether budget deficit rose, fell, or stayed the same. And you can I go through that in detail in my past videos, which you should look at if it doesn't really make a lot of sense to you. Now, the contractionary monetary policy is the last way we can fix our inflationary gap, and that is when interest increases or money supply decreases. AD moves left from 81 to 82, and the bank follows the policy by increasing their interest and decreasing that decreases the output back to equilibrium. The reaction of the public is the opposite. The reaction is we decrease interest, the price will then decrease, and the output income will go up. The overall reaction, the overall effect is parallels the bank's goals, that interest increase and Y decreases. But in this video, we're gonna focus on the new things in this video is the change in debt or the budget deficit. Budget deficit equal to G minus TY plus ID. So I has risen, Y has fallen, and this will indicate that BD has risen and change in debt has risen. Same thing as our upward pressure in debt for our natural do nothing option of fixing the inflationary gap. And that is there is an upward pressure on debt. Upward pressure on debt. And this is all I'm going to teach you for this video. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching and look forward to the next video.